Hello, and welcome to DREEMM, where we are focused on connecting to and building community. We are committed to helping individuals break cycles. We are delighted that you have taken the opportunity to join us. So prepare yourselves for this week's teaching and equipping session. Get ready to be educated, equipped, and set free as you listen to this week's broadcast. And thank you for joining us.
Hey, Dream Family. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Truth Tuesday. I am Pastor Cunningham, and I'm so excited to be here today. You guys, I got something a little bit different for tonight. Typically, Truth Tuesdays, we do a recap of what was talked about on Sunday. Sometimes God will give me a new word. But this time, I want to go down memory lane and talk about the time where I got sat down from the choir. Yeah, you heard me right. Tonight's message, we're talking about heart postures, and I'm going to talk about the time where God revealed my heart posture, but I was exposed publicly. It went behind closed doors. It was publicly, and God had to deal with me in that season. So let's talk about it a little bit before I get in. For those of you who are joining for the first time, again, I'm Pastor Kai Cunningham with DREEMM. We are a deliverance ministry out of Cincinnati, Ohio, and out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. Up on the screen, you'll see our website. We have a session coming up. We're celebrating our 10-year anniversary for DREEMM. So we're going to be celebrating that Memorial Day weekend here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So this is the first time that we will be celebrating in Tennessee. And it's also going to be an installation service for myself, Pastor Kai, and my husband, Pastor Kenny Cunningham. So we do invite you guys to come in and join with us. You can go ahead and register on our website for that. And for details about hotels, all of that stuff, you'll find out about that prior to the event once you register. So let's get into tonight's sessions, y'all. I'm going to go ahead and take that down and let's talk about it. Heart posture. So when I was in high school, my aunt and my cousins, her daughters, got together with a few other people from our local high school and decided to form a gospel choir. And it was young adults, not young adults, we were high schoolers. So we were children who were coming together and worshiping God through song. Now, y'all, newsflash. My grandmother, her siblings, so some of her siblings, and my father and his siblings all traveled, and they're very musically inclined. They can all sing, and they've traveled around quite a bit singing. My aunt and her children also have this gifting of song. That ain't how I believe God want me to worship him. Like you can do that, but you don't really have to. I think that's how God feels about it. But that's it. So when they talked about forming this gospel choir, and another caveat, let me just add one more piece. Y'all, we were raised on commission and Fred Hammond. That was it. Like, that was gospel for us. Commission Fred Hammond. We didn't know anything about the Clark sisters or any of that other stuff. And that was because that was what my mom listened to. So when we got introduced to other gospel artists, it was typically when I would go around other family members or on Sunday mornings when we would go to church. If they would sing a new song, that's how we would get introduced to outside music, outside of commission and Fred Hammond, right? So with that being said, a lot of the songs they sung in the choir, a lot of that stuff, I never heard most of this stuff before. And I was excited to be a part of it. It was just something new for me, and, just opening me up to new people I had never met in school before and just new opportunities. However, Kai was something else in high school. Let me just say that. Listen, I've repented. I was just a little bit, wild a little bit. And so with that being said, I wasn't always listening to what I needed to listen to and wasn't always hearing God's voice. I was having dreams then, but wasn't quite sure what I was dreaming. And so I was all over the place at that time. And so during that particular season, my auntie caught word of something that I had done in school and got in trouble for. And she was like, that's it. She needs to sit down. She has to sit down at this point. And so she did. She told me, you're no longer a part of the choir. And so that was the end of it, right? But then my grandmother, stepped in. And to be honest, at that point, I didn't feel like singing was my thing anyway. So I really wasn't, upset about it. I was upset at myself for getting in trouble, but not upset about the fact that I no longer could be in gospel choir because I didn't feel like that was my gifting. And so my grandmother stepped in and said, no, this is not happening. Even if she has to come and sit down during the choir rehearsal and she can't participate, then she needs to do that because I don't want her to, the world is going to embrace her. So I don't want the church to reject her and let the world embrace her. And I got where her mindset was. However, my auntie was right, in that time frame. She was definitely right by how she handled the situation. And what I had done in that point definitely deserved this. Well, I also get where my grandma was coming from, right? And so at that point, my auntie said, okay, well, she can come back on Monday. However, she's not going to be able to participate. And so I came back on Monday, and that was normally when we had our rehearsals, Monday afternoon. And I did sit for rehearsal, but I wasn't able to participate. And I did feel like I was separated or isolated from the choir. And that really did hurt, because I wanted to be a part of it. I just wanted to sing in the background. I don't want anybody to hand me a microphone. That's not my calling. So that's what it was. During that time, I got introduced to a different type of worship at church. And this worship was praise dance. And I remember being so afraid to dance for the first time, right? But then I began to pray outside, and it was something that someone said to me, this is you worshiping God. So forget everybody else is there and just focus in on you and God. And that's it. Once I started dancing, that's really where my mindset went. It went to just being before God, just worshiping God and nothing else. And that built up a passion in me that I did not have when it came to singing. It was just something else that allowed me to feel like I was more connected to God. It kind of fed a hunger in me to want to be in His Word, to want to read more, to want to dive in a little bit more, to want to get to know Him more. But it all started with me getting set down from something that I did not particularly feel like I wanted to be a part of. And I'm glad that the church I was in at that time offered other things to the young adults to kind of get you into church. So it's just not a place that you come to on Sunday morning, but you felt a part of the worship. You felt a part of the messages. They had, sessions where, of course, you were encouraged to come into the large sanctuary during the 11 o'clock service. But during the 9 o'clock service, we had Bible study just for the teens. So we could get together and ask those questions about the word that we just didn't understand, or the things that just didn't make sense to us, or opening you up to stories in the Bible that you may not have read before because you don't read the Bible. And so it was a lot of different things that were offered. And it wasn't that they were trying to conform to the world. It was definitely a revelation of letting you know you are to be separated from the world. You're not to look like them. You're not to sound like them. You're not to dress like them. But it was definitely setting the standard. But how they did it in such a way was amazing. And I really do think that the people that they had over these organizations had a passion for the youth. They had a passion to teach you, to make sure you were doing things right, to be a sounding board for your listening ear, but also to offer you sound advice. So they weren't coming in going, yeah, you should do that, or yeah, you should handle it this way. They were definitely setting the standard and going, no, that's not it. And let me tell you why that's not the way you should go, or that's not the decision that you should make. It wasn't trying to be your friend and sounding like you. They definitely did a great job of setting the tone and the standard for us. And so I do look back at those times and realize that even in those moments, God was sowing seeds in young Kai that have grown and have produced fruit in this season. So as I was looking back at that time, I look back and I laugh at it now, but in the moment I was not laughing about the time I got set down from the choir. But I do think that all of those things lined up so perfectly to get me to where I am today. And I'm glad that I had a leader who was my aunt also, who set the tone and set the standard. You're not going to, one, play with God. So you can't sit up here and perform on Sunday and then do what you want Monday through Saturday. That's not how it's going to work. Not only because you're my niece can you not do this, but you can't play with God like this. And I'm glad that she set that tone and that standard then, because now as an adult, those seeds that she planted in that moment, even though it hurt, and even though I have to tell you no, and you, my niece, I want to tell you yes, but I'm not going to do that. It helped shape who I am today. I think that's a problem that we don't see traditionally in church anymore, or in groups where you're over, young adults anymore, where you do that sit down period, and it shows. And it's not just the young adults who need it, some of the older adults need it too. And you can tell that they didn't get that sit down period from, whoever was in leadership, whether that be your uncle or your aunt or whoever, to say, no, you can't do this. I was reading in the Bible about the Levitical priest, and, before they could go into the part of, what they had built out in the desert, and the place where God was, where he dwelled in the temple. Only the priest could go in. But if they were not pure when they went into the temple, into this particular area, they would die immediately. So it was like their heart postures mattered. God was searching their inward beings, their inward thoughts, and he knew who they were. Now, it's one thing for me to while out and I don't know God. I don't know that I'm sinning, and I don't know that I'm messing up. That's one thing. You can come and tell that person, hey, you shouldn't be doing this. But they have no understanding. There's a lack of knowledge. But when you know right from wrong, when you are in church, when you are in a position, whether you're in position of leadership or not, it doesn't even matter. When you are in church, there should be someone who can say to you, hey, this is not right. And you listen, you take heed, because there are consequences for your action. And what she was showing me then was, like I said before, I'm not going to stand here and allow you to play in God's face. I'm not going to stand here and allow you to keep making your own decisions and think that you can still be a part of the choir. No, there will be a separation, and you will get sat down. And even if it's for a short period or if it's for a long period, you're understanding that there's consequences, and you have to be careful how you approach God. Sometimes those consequences will come immediately, and sometimes they come later on down the line. You're reaping the harvest of seeds that you planted 20 and 30 years ago. And now the harvest has come back, and you're dealing with it. My grandma would say, is it the rooster always comes home to roost, or the chickens come home to roost? Somebody coming home to roost. I can't remember. But somebody is coming home. And really what that meant is you're going to see, or as I always say, something is going to grow from this. Whatever decision you make, whatever choices that you make, whatever you do, there is some seed is being planted, and you better believe something is going to grow from that seed. So it's important that you watch the seeds that you're planting. So although this is a simple message and a simple lesson on a Tuesday, not really complex, it is an important one. You cannot play with God. You cannot pretend to be for him while you are against him. You cannot pretend to be a Christian when I'm in front of my Christian friends, but when I get in front of my worldly friends, I act completely different. I'm a chameleon depending on which group of people or individuals I'm looking at. And you have to be careful. I've said this before, but it's so important. What you take in is what's going to come out. So if you are constantly consuming things that are not of God, then what's going to pour out of you, what's going to flow from your heart, what's going to flow out of your lips will not be things that edify and glorify God. It's going to be mimicking whatever you're consuming. And so it's important that you watch what you listen to, you watch what you watch who you're around, you pray about all things, all decisions before you make them, because I'm making decisions based on my limited view and my limited knowledge, where I serve a God who's omnipotent, who knows all things. So instead of me just going to God telling him what I'm going to do, or better yet, just making decisions and not understanding what's going to happen next, it's best for me to go to God, to seek him first and ask him, God, what is going to happen next? What is the next decision? What can I expect from this? Rather than trying to make decisions on my own, again, with my limited knowledge and my limited understanding. So, you guys, I just want to leave you with this message on a Tuesday afternoon. Something's going to grow from the seeds that you're planting, and you cannot play with God. You cannot play with him. You can't play him. So God is not looking at you going, oh, well, I see her in church today and that's it. No, he searches your heart. He knows the inward things, the things that run through your mind, the things that you do in the dark, the things you think nobody else knows about. He knows about those things. And he is really aware of what's going on, your struggles, those private thoughts, those private things that you haven't even told anybody, that all you can do is tell God about. God, I can't tell anybody about this because it hurts so much. He knows about what's troubling you. He knows about what things you struggle with in your mind, the thoughts and the things that you say against yourself in your private time, whether you think that you are so stupid, whether you think that you are unintelligent, whether you think that you're not good at this, or whatever your thoughts are about you. He knows it. But he also knows the plans and the thoughts that he has for you. He knows what he designed you for. He knows what you're good at. He knows what he designed you for. You may not even assume that you can do it. You may have already counted yourself out and said, that ain't for me. I can't do that. Call somebody else. That's not me. And he knew that you were going to respond that way. It did not catch him off guard. But you have to trust in him. And you have to follow him. Seek ye first the kingdom of God. That means even if I'm not thinking about, and all of these things will be added unto me, the first part of that says, seek ye first the kingdom of God. That should be the first thing that I do. So you got your heart posture matters. It matters. Those thoughts, those words, we talk about the power of words and what we speak and what we say and how those words they matter. You have to be very diligent and vigilant of the words that you allow to come out of your mouth. The things that you speak over other people, the curses that you allow yourself to speak out over people. And not just over others, over yourself. God, cancel out the curses that I spoke over anybody else, especially my children, over my husband, over my finances, over myself, over my health, over my wealth, over my mind, over my body. Cancel out those words. It's important, you guys, because all of these are seeds. They're all seeds that are planted, and something is going to grow from it. Something is going to grow from it. So you guys, that's all I want to talk to you about on a Tuesday night. I told you I was going to keep this simple, come in and just have a quick conversation with you guys. And remember, heart posture this week. As you're going throughout the rest of the week, I want to encourage you to just take inventory. Take inventory. Maybe you don't go back to high school. Maybe you go back to elementary school. Maybe you think about preschool and the things that you went through at that season of your life and how it shaped where God has brought you to at this point in your life. Where God is, the things that he's brought you through, the things you've overcome, the times in my life where I thought I was absolutely not going to make it through. Like I am not going to be able to lift up my head out of this. I am going to drown in this thing. And then I watch God come in and turn that situation around. And for that, I am so thankful because I know it was nothing that God could have done to make it any better. It wasn't because of me. It was because of God. I'm even thankful for the times that I heard no. The times where the doors closed, the times where I lost opportunities, because I don't know if God was closing that door. Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I do know. I found out later on what happened with those opportunities that I was getting, praying that God would allow me to walk through. And then all of a sudden, the company is doing layoffs afterwards. So I am thankful for the things that He kept me from, even though in the moment I didn't know what it was. Hindsight, I now know. And there are some things that I won't know. I gotta go, I told you no, and that's it. It's just no. But I'm thankful for it. It takes going through certain situations for you to realize that and get your faith to this point where you can say something like that. God, I'm thankful for the no's. I'm even thankful for the auntie who set me down all those years ago, who told me an important lesson. You can't play with God, and I won't let you do it, even if you are my niece. I didn't get it then, but at 44, I get it now. So, you guys have a blessed rest of your week, and I will see you again next week for Truth Tuesday. Don't forget to join us on Sunday. We'll have Dream North at 9 a.m. and Dream South will be at 11 a.m. Dream North in Cincinnati, Ohio, Dream South in Chattanooga. If you're in the Chattanooga area, come on out and join us on Sunday morning. We meet for 1 hour here in Chattanooga. In Cincinnati, they meet for 1 hour at 9 a.m. So come on in. And if not, we love to see you guys online. Talk to you later. Bye, everybody.